Let me pick you up.
Now, Jim, this right here was the old orchard place right here. Used to be a pear tree right down there, a peach tree. Used to be a peach tree right over here. All this right in here used to be open. It was just a field in here. And right out in here, where me and Billy was plowing one day, and that's when we found Mama's ring. That gold ring had been lost all those years. Take 4.
Take 4. So what'd you do? Did you pick it up and go show it to her? How'd she react when she saw it?
We took it to her, and she looked at it, and she couldn't hardly believe it. Of course, when Dad came home that night, she showed it to Dad. And of course, Dad was elated, happy too. You know?
See,
Catawba tree. Right over here was a peach tree and a plum tree right here in this area, but I think it's all dead now.
I understand there's still pears coming off that tree.
I think ain't many in John ain't many in Sam Ford planted that orchard.
So what year would that have been?
What year would that orchard have been? That orchard was probably planted right from. Hey Jim, this tree right here, a sycamore tree. Sycamore tree. When I was a kid, I used to climb that tree and carve my initials up there, me and my girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
Which
sure JC.
Which one of the 25 did you climb the tree with?
I don't remember which one it was.
That was the right answer.
Yeah. Time we used to go across the bayou right here in the old red pickup. When the creek was dry.
So this, before you had the bridge, this would have been the original way you'd have to walk to school?
No, we had 2 choices. We could go this way in the summertime when the creek was dry, and when it had water in it, we had to go all the way around Perkins.
Yeah. Some parts of the year you had no access. Chrysler, when that happened, weren't you in Detroit?
Yeah, we were. What happened, Henry?
Well, when Mom and Dad was coming home from, I think they spent the night over at Aunt Minnie's in Muskogee, and they coming home that morning about 10 o'clock. Parked the truck down there here on the old bayou, came across the swinging bridge. I think it's about 30 degrees, it's real cold. They was coming up across this little branch right here, got right along in here. Mama had a stroke. And Daddy, she was too heavy, Daddy couldn't move her. And I remember Dad tells that he went up to the house and got a quilt, brought it back down here and covered Mama up. And I think he went for help, went up to Ald Jones's, and I think Ald came down here and helped get her up, and I think they took her to the back to the hospital. I'm pretty sure that's where it was.
Come in, Bill. No, we don't want to stand in a straight line.
Now, the old barn's right here about 100 feet, right south of us. This little rock pile here was built in 1938. Me and Billy, Jackie West, and Haskell Jones built this little rock pile here. Actually, it was a little house. What we done, we had 4 sides to it. In front, we had a little hole where we climbed in. On top, we had some brush. We laid over top of the rock pile and made a top of the house, you know.
You're sure full of it, Henry.
What else you want to know?
That's all. That's enough.
Are you still taking a picture of us?
Is that where you climb the tree and sit up there and watch for pirates or somebody?
That's somebody's
I
death line.
expect that's deer hunters.
Deer blind.
Deer stand.
Yeah, now that would have been what? That would have been almost what's. That's 50 years ago, but it's been longer than that. It's been about
53 years.
Yeah. It was 1938. That's when it was.
Okay, I'm standing here on the original site of the barn at the old Dye home place in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. Now, JC, maybe you can describe to us where we're at, how we're oriented. Now, where did the barn start and end, and where was the house? And maybe you can point out and tell the story.
The house, you're facing toward the house right now, facing to the west, and I'm shooting to the northeast. You're standing just about the middle of the old corn crib. And above the old corn crib, to the south of it, was a barn loft where you used to keep all the hay. Now that's a piece of the old tin roof that used to be on the barn.
This is the original roof?
That's the original roof, yeah.
Wow.
I remember one time when I was just a kid, I looked up on top of the barn roof, and there sat a pheasant up there, one of these here Chinese pheasants. I don't know where he came from, but he was there. He didn't last very long. He flew off, I guess.
Yeah. Well, wow. Well, if we look around, we could probably find some other mementos.
Oh, you can find a lot of stuff around here, Jim. Yeah. Yeah, right here inside of the old barn. I'm panning to the northwest and back around toward the old house. Right, the old house is right down in there. And
now tell me, see yonder that fallen tree to your left? Well, I think we found another memento here. We have here at my feet what appears to be one of the original posts and some of the original wire of the fence that went around the original home place house here in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. Well, it seems to be still attached, so we can...
Show me that wire again.
Right here. This is it. This is the original wire, Fort Gibson, Oklahoma.
Okay.
You may want to cut some of this off. We can take it home.
Showing the recording up there now. Okay, this is the old post oak tree that used to sit out between the barn and the house, a little bit to the south, right north of Salt Lick. When I was a kid, this is just about the highest tree on this hill up here, and I used to climb out on that limb right out there, and the limb went out that way to the south, and it was low down enough. I used to climb up on that limb and climb up to the tree. The tree was too big around to get up on it, So I'd climb up there, and my mama, she'd see me up there, and she'd just about have a fit. The reason I get up there, you can see all around the country, you see cars going along the highway over at Granny's house. All those trees weren't out there then. It's been dead, no telling how many years, it's just about rotten. That old tree is probably, it came up an acre and probably back there in the Civil War days. Now, I bet your daddy could tell you all who owned this old place. I remember back the Fortners and the Taylors, and I think Daddy lived here, and Gene Owens used to live here. But the old house used to be I think it's a one-room log house. And the log portion of it was still there when I think Daddy moved here. Then they took lumber and enclosed the logs in. And you couldn't tell it was a log house, because it had lumber on the outside. But the east room, what we call a living room, was lumber. It was logs with lumber covering. And the west end was newly built, and it was just out plain lumber. Then there was two side rooms along the north side of the house, and the west side room was the kitchen, and we call the dining room back on the east side, to the northeast corner. That's where we used to have a table and have two benches on the side. And we had a door out to the east, and one went to the living room, went back into the kitchen.
George, you didn't want to get over.
See this old tile with the tree growing into it? Well, that tile there was when I was a baby, about 1920. And there was water in it just like there is now, except it was higher, And my mother or my granddad or somebody took a picture of me and sitting in this tile. They named this jaybird. Somebody got that picture yet, but I don't know where it is. I was probably about 6 months old or 8, something like that, no more than that. Yet, this tree here grown right about middle ways of that tile. Here's a tree that comes right out through the middle of it.
Is there no drainage, just tile?
Yep, no drainage tile. No clay drainage tile. See, that tree is busted over there. See where it's busted?
This is a well, Jim, that I drink water out of for 13 years. That was good. That's the reason I'm so healthy. Drinking water out of it.
See that tree that's grown up beside of that old plate over the top of the well? You see it's pushed it back. As the tree grew, the top of that plate there is pushed back that way. You see it's off center? I remember there used to be snakes that come out here, you know, you look off there and the snakes would drop off the water there. Another thing too, we used to have an old flat gasoline sign to keep it covered up with, you know, to keep the kids from falling over. Well, people come out and draw water out of it, and they'd put the old sign back over the hole. But somebody drew some water out one time. They left the sign off there, you know, so it was just an open hole. We had an old billy goat. And that old billy goat jumped off in there, and I guess he's going to jump off up on that plate, but he jumped and he went right in the hole.
Did he drown?
That's about 40 feet deep down there, and we used to have a colored guy named Jake Sauce lived down there about 300 or 400 yards in the house. Dad went down and got him, and he went down in there and tied a rope around that old goat's neck, and they come back and they drug him out of there and thought the old goat would be dead. But he wasn't dead. And that drug got old goat out of there with the horns and took the rope off his horns to the fence right there, and he went and jumped that fence. That's falling down that well about 40 feet. You think goats aren't tough?
I'm going to take a picture of the old home place.